Any idea? Who will say co-evolution? Okay. You see, whenever there is going to have evolution in such a manner that uh, the evolution of the two species are going to depend upon each other, then we call it as a co-evolution. Okay, basically, what we can say that this is a symbiotic relations or predator relations, right? So that relation actually force the two species to evolve together. So as you can see there, it happens when the evolution of one species depends upon the evolution of another species, right? So the behavior of one species is going to put selective pressure on other and vice versa, right? So that's why the pollen pollinator, the predator prey, or the host parasite, right? So this is the typical example of co-evolution. So one of the common example, one of the most common example is the bees and flower, that the bees depends upon flowers for food, right? And flowers depends upon bee to pollinate. So both of them work towards the development of each other so that the flower will develop in such a manner so that they can attract the bees. At the same time, the bees will do the changes so that they can get the pollens from them. Okay. So suppose if the plant change even slightly in a way that it is going to be harder for the bee, then definitely it won't be able to survive. And so is the case for the bee. So if plant changes and if the bee has to take the pollen, then bee too has to change its structure. So that's why both are going to co-evolve. So that is what we call co-evolution. So mind it, co-evolution is always some sort of interspecies interactions, right? It could be pollen pollinator, predator prey, or host parasite. So please take a note of it. I hope it is clear. The very co-evolution. Sabko samjha na? Understood? If not, let me know. So once it is done, let me know. चलो आगे बढ़े क्या? Shall I move? Right. So next we will speak about the macro evolution. I told you about the macro. So the evolution occurs on a large scale, right? And they are going to surpass the level of one single species, right? So it is not the question of one subspecies or variety. It's not like that. So it results in the formation of absolutely a new species. So the changes is going to occur in terms of the development of the new phylum, right? So it's quite obvious that macroevolution is going to occur over longer period of time. And this could be the, and why it is going to happen? This could be due to addition, deletion, or the change in the genetic structure resulting in the new species. So whenever there is a origin of different phyla, development of vertebrates from invertebrate, development of feathers and stuff like that, this is what we call the macroevolution. So whenever the changes with reference to phylum or one particular phylum is originating from others, for instance, we know very well that the birds is originated from reptiles, right? There is a Archaeopteryx, we know very well, that is a connecting link between birds and reptiles. Okay, but these two are entirely different phyla. So the formation of bird from reptile, this is what we call macroevolution. Understood? So please note it quickly. Done. Shall I move? Okay, so this is all as far as the different types of evolution is concerned. That is, so we don't have to discuss anything more in that, right? But today we will also discuss about that uh, what are the different theories of the evolution that has been given, and the main theory we know very well, and that is the theory that is given by Darwin. And the most important topic, and questions are always going to ask on this only, right? So we will talk about that what are the popular theories of the evolutions. So first we will begin with the Lamarck, though we know that very well that Lamarck is not acceptable theory. But the main point what we need to learn that why Lamarck is not acceptable. Okay, but first of all, what was Lamarck? So it was theory of inheritance of acquired character or theory of use and disuse. So what was the basic? So what Lamarck says, there is no extinction of a species, and trait developed by parents are passed on directly to the offsprings. That was the things. So this is the inheritance of the acquired character. So whatever the trait that is acquired by one particular species in a generation, according to Lamarck, it is directly transferred to the next generation. Okay. And another thing he proposed, that whenever there is going to have overuse of any organ, so that will develop, and underutilized will lead to the extinction of that particular or severely underdevelopment of that organ. This is what we call use or disuse part, right? So very famously, he gave the example of giraffe. So what he proposed that the giraffe had developed from horse, which is absolutely correct. But what he said, that as the tropical forests keep on growing, so the giraffe neck has to be stretched to get the leaf, and in the due course of time, the neck get stretched, and now the new species, what we call giraffe. So this was the things what was proposed by Lamarck. So the important thing in case of Lamarck, what you need to understand, he said about inheritance of acquired character, and second, the use and disuse theory. So please note it quickly. Can any one of you just tell me that why Lamarck theory is not accepted, or who disapprove the theory of Lamarck? आपने क्लास 9 या क्लास 10 में भी पढ़ा होगा. Who will try? Saraswati, will you try? Well, Ansika has given the correct name. But Ansika, can you tell me that how Wieserman proved Lamarck theory wrong? Can you tell me? Hope your mic is working. Yeah, Priyadasni, he cuts off tails of a rat. Can you tell me, while cutting the tail of a rat, what he proved? Unmute and speak, so it will help you. It will help all of us to understand your thinking about it.
So he cut off tails of rats, I think some 20 somewhat generations, and after those generations, there was no reduction in the size of the tail.
Okay, fine. That was the experiment. So through this experiment, what he proved? You see, Lamarck says inheritance of acquired character. So if Lamarck is correct, then I'm cutting the tail of rat for so many generations. So if that character, if the inheritance is going to occur due to acquired character, that means cut tail is an acquired character. And if really it is going to be inherited, then at some point of time, the rat must have been born without tail, right? And it was not formed. So that's why the inheritance of acquired character doesn't hold. Did you get it?
Yes, sir.
चलो लिख लिया क्या? Done? Okay. So you see, let's talk about Wieserman. So Wieserman cuts off tails of rats for more than 20 generations, but tailless rats were never born. Okay, there are a few more examples. For instance, there is a general tradition among the women for the piercing of the external ear, right? And has been practiced for thousands of years, but still the female babies are not born with pierced ear, right? So one more thing, that even if the athlete is going to develop a powerful musculature, but it is not guaranteed that their offspring is also going to develop with the same musculature, right? So these are some of the very common drawbacks for the Lamarck. So what Wieserman did, Wieserman has given the theory of germplasm. Okay. So the theory of germplasm says that it is a germ cell that is inherited, not the somatic cells. The theory of acquired character is talking about inheritance of somatic cell, which is not the fact. Somatic cell never transmitted from one generation to another. The transmission is always going to happen from the for the germ cells, right? So Lamarckism about the inheritance of somatic trait, which is actually not inheritance. So that's why the theory of germ plasm negate the theory of Lamarck. So is it clear that how Weizmann has negated the theory of Lamarck? Understood? Please note it, the theory of germ plasm as well. Once done, let me know. देख लिया सब लोगों ने? Done. Shall I move? Okay. Chalo. So next we need to talk about the theory of the natural selection. So I will little bit talk about the history. You need not require to note it because this will never be asked in competitive examinations, right? But yes, of course, we should know about it, right? So there are some historical dates that is not at all important from competitive point of view. So don't try to mug it up. So in 1831, Darwin was just 22 years old. So he set sail on a scientific expedition on the ship, and the name of the ship was HMS Beagle. So basically he was naturalist, right? And it was his job to observe and collect specimens of plants and animals across the different parts of the country. So he altogether spent more than 3 years of 5 years trip exploring the nature on distant continent. But his most memorable experience was Galapagos Island, right? And in that island, he observed Darwin finches, okay, which actually become the base of what we call the natural selection. Okay. So Galapagos Islands is a group of 16 small volcanic islands that is in the west coast of Ecuador and South America. So basically in South America. So these islands differ from one another in very important ways. Okay, some are rocky, some are dry, right? So they all together provide different environment, and that is why within that environment, it leads to the different forces of evolution. And we know very well that Darwin Finches is a perfect example of adaptative radiations, or we can say that divergent evolutions. Okay. So what he noticed that the plants and animals on different islands are absolutely different. And one of the example that was quoted by him, that giant tortoise on one island has a saddle cell, while those on another has a dome cell, as I have picked for you in the diagram as well. So you see, both evolved from the same parent, right? But over the period of time, the two different islands, their shape become entirely different. Okay. So this changes, or the sharp changes, right? This make Darwin think about the origin of a species. Okay. So later on, Darwin concentrated on the finches. Finches is a bird, we know. So that is also known as Galapagos finches. These are a group of about 15 species. That is important. And why they are known? They are known for their remarkable diversity in beak form and functions. Okay. So still there are 13 species of finches on Galapagos Island, and each having a different niche on different islands. But all of them has evolved from one ancestral species. So again, it is an example of adaptative radiations. Okay. So the process whereby species evolve rapidly to exploit the new ecospace, right? This is known as the adaptive radiations. Okay. So please note it for the Darwin finches. Once done, let me know. Over. चलो आगे बढ़े क्या? Shall I move? Fine. So let's move ahead. So you see, let's try to understand that what are the sequence of event or what are the thought process of the Darwinism. Okay. So what Darwin observed that there is a among all the species there is a overproduction, right? And in that he also followed the Malthus, who was a very famous economics of his own time. And what he says that the population grows in a geometric manner and the food resources or resources grows in arithmetic mean, right? So for he took the idea from that. So what he observed that all species have enormous tendency to reproduce, right? And their production is or their number increases in the geometric rate. But at the same time, he also says that there is a different types of competition that is existing. Okay, the competition could be interspecies or intraspecies. But at the end of the competition, what we see that the number of populations or number of individuals within a populations will remain fairly constant, right? And at the same time, he also observed that among the individuals in a population, there is a variation, or we can say no two individuals are alike. They have one or some other kind of variations. Okay. So first of all, I'll write on these 3 points. Then we will talk about that how the variations is going to be selected. Okay. Once done, let me know. लिख लिया क्या? Okay. So I hope everybody has taken note of it. So let's move ahead. So what happens that some variations are going to be adapted, right? And once it is adapted, so this enable individual to produce more offsprings, because you see, one adaptation is going to happen, then definitely under change condition, they are better suited to produce more and more offsprings. Okay. So once the more offsprings are produced, then the very concept of the natural selection comes. So what is the natural selection? The natural selection is talking about that all those adaptation which is suited to environment is going to be selected. How it is selected? It is selected by differential rate of reproduction. Suppose there are two species, let it be say A and B. Okay, let's try to understand. Let it be say there are two species A and B. Okay, suddenly both were the number of both were same, but suddenly the environment become favorable for B. So what will happen over the period of time? The number of B will increase, right? How B is going to increase? Because they are actually being selected. So in the among the species of B, the rate of reproduction will be high in comparison to A. So over the period, A will come down, B will go up, right? Then this species is now selection by the nature. Okay. Once it is selected, then how this A and B develop into two new species? They can develop into two new species when the gene flow between them is going to stop. Earlier, assumed that there was a gene flow in between them. Let it be say these are two subspecies of a species. Okay. But now what we see that this gene flow is actually now completely stopped. Okay. So once it is stopped, it leads to speciation. So these are another three things what leads to the very working of the natural selection. So please take a note of it. लिख लिया? ओके, सो आई एज्यूम कि सब लोगों ने लिख लिया है। तो देखो, ये पूरी की पूरी डार्विन के कॉन्सेप्ट को हम लोग कुछ ऐसे समराइज कर सकते हैं, रिप्रोडक्टिव एबिलिटी प्लस इन्वायरमेंटल रेजिस्टेंस, राइट। इसके कारण क्या होता है? स्ट्रगल फॉर एग्जिस्टेंस। स्ट्रगल्स फॉर एग्जिस्टेंस में के कारण क्या होता है? वेरिएशन प्रोड्यूस होते हैं। तो स्ट्रगल फॉर एग्जिस्टेंस एंड हेरिटेबल वेरिएशन, ये क्या होता है? नेचुरल सिलेक्शन होता है। और नेचुरल सिलेक्शन एनवायरमेंटल चेंज, ये क्या होता है? इवोल्यूशन होता है, राइट। सो दैट इज द one by one steps that eventually produce the evolutions. Okay, so that is what happens. Please note it. I hope ये समझा होगा सभी लोगों ने। Done. Shall I move? Okay. देखो, पूरे के पूरे नेचुरल सिलेक्शंस में द की पॉइंट व्हाट वी नीड टू keep in our mind. So this is the key point. First of all, natural selection depends upon reproductive success. Okay. Second, it always operate on population, not on individual. So please take this fact very clearly in your mind. Natural selection operates on population, not on individuals, right? So natural selection also going to keep a dynamic relation between genetic changes and changing environment. Okay. And how it operates? It operates by differential rate of reproduction. So two key things what we need to keep in mind. Natural selection operates by differential rate of reproduction and it operates on population, not on individuals. That is the things, right? Note it. Noted. Okay. So I hope everybody has taken note of it, right? Now we will talk about that what are the different types of natural selections. Okay. So these three types has been recognized, what we call direction selection, disruptive selection, and a stabilizing selection. Now, what is direction selection? So natural selection is going to favor one extreme of the population, right? And that often happens when environment changes in a consistent way, right? Suppose the environment is becoming from hotter to colder one. So all those species which can survive in cold will survive, and for one who won't be able to tolerate the cold, they won't be able to survive, right? Now, there is a disruptive selection. So natural selection favors both extreme end. Okay. So when both extreme ends selected, so they cause speciation to diverge. Okay, we will give you, I will give you the some example as well. And in case of the stabilizing selection, favors the average of the population selected. Write on all the three, then I will give you one example one by one. ड्रॉ कर लिया? सब लोगों ने लिख लिया क्या? डन? ओके, देखो पहले हम लोग बात करते हैं स्टेबलाइजिंग सिलेक्शन की. सो आई एम जस्ट गोइंग टू गिव यू एग्जांपल एज आई टोल्ड यू, राइट? तो देखो, दैट इज गोइंग टू selection is going to happen against the two extremes in a population. So have a look at this graph. आप देखो, जो ह्यूमन बेबी का बर्थ होता है, तो वो बेबी चाहे वो एशियन का हो, अफ्रीकन का हो, यूरोपियन का हो, सभी का वेट एक ही होता है, ऑलमोस्ट एक जैसा होता है. और यदि बेबी अक्रॉस डिफरेंट कॉन्टिनेंट्स, यदि बेबी का वेट एवरेज से नीचे हो या एवरेज से बहुत ज्यादा हो, राइट, तो उनके सर्वाइवल के चांसेस थोड़े कम हो जाते हैं. इसका मतलब क्या हुआ कि जो मिड जो है ना, वही सेलेक्ट हो रहा है, और एक दो एक्सट्रीम जो कि यहाँ पे डिफरेंट कलर से दिखाया जा रहा है, वो क्या है, वो सेलेक्ट नहीं हो रहा है, राइट? तो ये समझ में आया क्या, स्टेबलाइजिंग सिलेक्शन? इज इट क्लियर? यस एंड नो? So in case of stabilizing selection, it is the mean population that is going to be selected, right? Write on the example. अभी जो आपने लिखा ना, आप ऑलरेडी इसका डेफिनेशन लिख चुके हो, दोबारा लिखने की जरूरत नहीं. जस्ट राइट ऑन द एग्जाम्पल. दैट इज द बर्थ वेट इन ह्यूमन एंड क्लच साइज इन बर्ड्स. सो क्लच साइज इन बर्ड इज ऑल्सो ऑफ द मीन. यदि बहुत छोटा हो या बहुत बड़ा हो, तो बर्ड्स डेवलप नहीं कर पाते. ओके? So just draw this one. Once done, let me know. Okay. So let's move to the next. So after stabilizing selection, we will discuss about directional selection. Okay. So in case of directional selection, what will happen? That selection of one extreme in a population against the other extreme. जैसे मान लो एक पेट्री डिश में हमने बैक्टीरिया को ग्रो कर रहे हैं और उसमें मैंने एंटीबायोटिक यूज किया, तो एंटीबायोटिक रेजिस्टेंस वैरायटी ही सरवाइव करेगी, बाकी नहीं सरवाइव करेगी, राइट? यानी one end of the spectrum is going to be survive, as you can see there in this diagram, right? That this complete is going to be just eliminated from the population, and only this one will be selected, right? So this is what we call directional selection. So whenever one extreme of the population is selected, then we call it as a directional selection. Understood? ये समझा ना directional selection? Is it clear? Right. So just draw this directional selection and write on the example only. Over. Right. So on the last one, what we call disruptive. Now, in case of disruptive, what happens that the selection of the two extremes is going to happen against the average bound. This is what we call disruptive. मैं इसका एक बड़ा कॉमन एग्जांपल आपको देखता हूं. जैसे फॉर इंस्टेंस टेक एन एग्जांपल ऑफ रैबिट इन कॉन्ट्रास्टिंग हैबिटेट, राइट? सपोज the rabbit, the color of the rabbit is of two variety. One, what we call it is a white, second, what we call black. Okay. Now, due to the black and white, so if the gene, let it be say for gene black is BB and white is, let it be small b, small b. So by their cross, definitely there is going to produce BB. And their skin color is another example of what we can say it is an intermediate dominance. So definitely a new variety, let it be say gray is formed. Okay, so now we have a three variety in fact. One is a black, second is a white, okay, and third is a gray. Okay, now suppose this rabbit is under such a condition in which the background is absolutely white, then definitely this white will camouflage itself and it will survive against the predation. Rest will not survive. And if the background is absolutely black, then black will be survive. Okay. But in both this background, definitely gray is not going to survive because this is the midway, right? So they won't be able to camouflage. Okay. So that is a perfect example of the disruptive. So that's why the two extreme ends is going to be selected. So you can see there. So this is the average. They don't get selected. Rather, the two extreme ends that is going to be selected, we call them disruptive. Understood? Is it clear? So please take an example of disruptive as well. Right. So this was all as far as the entire natural selection is concerned. Right. One last thing, or rather one last theory we will discuss, and that is the Hugo de Virius, right? The mutation theory. So that was given by Hugo de Virius. So according to, you know very well, Hugo de Virius given the concept of mutation, right? And according to him, evolution is a jerky process and discontinuous process. But according to Darwin, it is a continuous process. According to mutation, it is a very fast process. That's why it is calling jerky. But according to Darwin, it is a slow process, slow accumulation of adaptation leading to evolution. That was Darwinian concept. But mutation theory says that evolution is not a slow process. It is a jerky process. Mutation happens. And if the mutation is going to be selected by some environment, then definitely a new species evolved, right? So this is what about the mutation theory. So what mutation says, that mutations are the raw material for evolution and it become operational immediately. There is a no time lag. So unlike Darwinian continuous variation of fluctuation, mutation do not fluctuate, right? And as I told you, useful mutations are going to be selected by nature and lethal mutations are eliminated. Though if we know very well that normally in most of the cases, mutations are lethal. But suppose if such a mutation is going to happen, which is going to be well suited to the environment, then definitely it will survive. Okay. So accumulation of variation through mutation is going to give the new species, right? And this is also called as a saltation. Now, why we call them saltation? Because saltation means single step large mutation. So that was the concept given by Hugo de Virius. So questions are often asked to differentiate between the Hugo de Virius views and Darwin views. So two things what you have to keep in mind. According to Darwin, evolution was a slow process. According to Hugo de Virius, it is a fast process. According to Darwin, it is accumulation of the variation. According to Hugo de Virius, it is not accumulation of variation, rather it is due to mutation and there is a sudden appearance of a species. That means one species undergone a sudden mutation resulting into the formation of a new species, right? So that is how we can differentiate. I hope it is clear that you can easily differentiate between the mutation theory and the Darwinian theory. Is it clear? Okay, please write down. Done. चलो फिर आज का क्लास यहीं पे छोड़ेंगे, राइट। और अगले क्लास में ना हम लोग मॉडर्न सिंथेटिक थ्योरी पढ़ेंगे और साथ में इवेंचुअली इतनी डिस्कशंस के बाद एक्चुअल एवोल्यूशन का मैकेनिज्म क्या है ये भी हम लोग सीखेंगे, राइट। तो मॉडर्न सिंथेटिक थ्योरी में हम लोग यही सीखते हैं। देन आई विल बी टॉकिंग अबाउट द डिफरेंट टाइप ऑफ स्पेसिएशन, ओके। तो असिम्पैट्रिक, एलोपैट्रिक, पारापैट्रिक, ओके, ये सारे टाइप्स ऑफ स्पेसिएशन होते हैं, ये हम लोग अगले क्लास में सीखेंगे, ठीक है। तो आप अगले क्लास में स्पेसिएशन कितनी तरह का होता है ये थोड़ा आप पढ़ के आओ। और मॉडर्न सिंथेटिक थ्योरी ऑफ एवोल्यूशन या न्यू डार्विनिज्म किसको कहते हैं, मॉडर्न सिंथेटिक थ्योरी को ही हम लोग न्यू डार्विनिज्म कहते हैं। तो न्यू डार्विनिज्म और डार्विनियन कॉन्सेप्ट में क्या फर्क था ये थोड़ा आप देखने की कोशिश करो, राइट। एनी क्वेश्चन यू वांट टू आस्क? एनी क्वेश्चन?
No, sir.
ओके, चलो फिर, दैट्स ऑल, थैंक यू,
Thank you, sir. Good night.
गुड नाइट।